Welcome to episode 5 of Webway Radio. I'm Kurt.
I'm Mark.
And this time, we got the episode number correct to start.
Yeah.
About that.
Whoops.
So, we had episode 3 ready to go.
Yes.
Pre-edited, because we did 3 or 4 episodes in a row.
Yep.
You know, didn't have to record for like a month, technically. It's worked out. Disney World, life, it happens. Mm-hmm. And then Adepticon happened. And boy, we needed to get some things off of our chest. So we emergency recorded.
Yep.
And I could not edit out that or because I forgot to drop the episode on the day it was supposed to come out anyways.
It's fine.
So I forgot to go edit out the 4. And yeah, so the last 2 episodes I think have both technically been episode 4.
Yes. Yeah. They got a little reverse there. Whoops.
Fine, it happens. But we did switch the order of those and set on last episode just to have something. So the news might be a little late if you listen to that and noticed. If you didn't, it's fine.
It's fine. Time works different in the Webway.
I talked about a game I played a month and a half later. It's fine. But today, whenever this comes out, we're going to talk about terrain.
Yeah.
And lots of it.
Yes.
Because, golly, we didn't talk about our hobby progress. We both have super duper extra secret projects happening.
Yes.
Soon, maybe next week. Maybe next time, not next week.
Time. Next recording.
It'll be 3 weeks.
We'll have more information then.
Yes. We have a little, but we've both started something, and boy, I'm going to take some flack for it. I can feel it already. Mm-hmm. I played a brief game with my wife. Mm-hmm. I say brief, it lasted 3 days, but I played a game with my wife.
Everything's relative, right?
I beat her this time. Ooh. So it feels good. She's got a really good ratio against beating me, or with beating me. It's bad. I've beat her like 3 times in a decade.
Elves, man.
Yeah, but we're going to talk about terrain, what we like, what we don't like, what's functional, what is not.
Yeah, just kind of lots of conversation, just general thoughts about terrain. It's kind of, we've wanted to talk about it for a while, so we're finally getting around to it.
And in true Kurt and Mark fashion, I learned something else about you this time. You really like hexes.
I do. They're cool. They have 6 sides. It's cool.
I mean, say so. Let's take a quick break, and then we will dive into a extremely brief hobby progress and games played. So let's jump into hobby progress. Mark, what have you been working on?
What little there is.
I know the feeling.
Well, both of us have been working on something I guess we're not going to talk about just yet. But
we have a super secret project going on.
So I've been doing test models for that and kind of prepping. I haven't started building yet, but I have a big pile of sprues that's like giving me hate eyes, so I'm gonna have to start
you
working
can see
on.
my table. It's there's a lot going on right now.
There's a few things, but it's kind of I'm gearing up for it, kind of trying to get my color schemes worked out, because whenever I do a project, I'm bad about forgetting like just exactly what, I use 20 paints. I don't remember the order. Or
the Google Notes app is just the greatest, and it syncs everywhere your phone. You drop your phone or shatter your screen. It's waiting for you when you reinstall it. It's great.
But yeah, so pretty much just working with that. I guess I will say, despite me having a preference for cool colors, and if you look
when you
at
say cool colors, you mean like a cool tone?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, well, all my colors are cool, but the blues and the greens and all that, cool tones. And I have way more cool tones than I have warm tones. I've not actually used a lot of GW's cool tones. Like, I've used a few, but I mean, with Imperial Fists, obviously we're very warm, and like the tabards and stuff, there's red and, pretty much all warm there. So honestly, just learning how my Citadel paints work together, because I don't know about you, but it's kind of once I find certain combos, like this paint works with this paint, you kind of just repeat the exact same thing over and over. It's kind of, this is how Corn Red works. This is the color.
Teal that's in every army that I have. Yeah, I don't know anything about that.
So it's pretty much just learning the cool colors, how those work, because like I said, I haven't used them. So a lot of experimentation, a lot of models that have been unfortunately sacrificed to the color scheme gods. Maybe I'll do some.
I've got a gallon of green stuff behind me, just waiting to dip things. Just bring it by. It's fine.
I may do that to salvage some fellows later. That, not enough of it. More soon, but Not yet.
I'm kind of in the same boat, though. I haven't done a lot of actual hobby.
Yeah.
I take that back. I painted some of the Scimitar jet bikes up a little bit.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Did some just very base colors and started the trim on one.
They look good, though.
The
The trim
looks really
like,
good.
makes it pop.
Oh, yeah. That wolf gray or stone, whatever I use for my white, looks fantastic with the blacks I use. And let's see what I primed a Wraith Knight for Jordan.
That also looks good.
She's very excited. It's no longer like a stained pinkish purple. So that's, she's
black.
getting back into it.
The matte black looks so good, honestly.
That's Krylon primer.
It-
it's such a cheap and good. It looks just like Chaos Black.
Yeah.
And it's a quarter of the cost. She hobbied a little bit. I think we talked about it off mic, but she was trying to put together her Shroud Runners, her new favorite unit.
Uh-oh. Oh, is that the jet bikes
Sniper
with the
boys.
sniper on the back?
Yeah, they're the worst. But she was working on those on the couch, and she had a dog in her lap and a blanket on top of the dog and her little like TV tray. And every couple minutes I'd hear a swear word and then like everything scooting and the dog getting up. And it was just, I spent more time looking for parts under the couch than and then I'd go back to hobbying and I'd be filing away on something or cleaning something up and I'd hear, and the thing's moving and it's like, oh, I'll come help. So I think this weekend I'm going to get the shop vac under the couch and just go through everything it picks up and like, oh, there's this bit and here's that arm and here's your head. And so I got to figure out how she can hobby and still watch TV on the big TV that isn't on a little like 1 foot by 1 foot tray.
Mm-hmm. Got to mount something to the ceiling, have it drop down.
Oh, don't tease me. If those ceilings weren't angled up like A-frame, it'd probably be a lot easier, but that's probably what's going to hold me back on that one. Printed a lot of stuff.
Yes.
I printed a lot of things. Something that I was very passionate about when it came out, the Hexaton Hills Kickstarter for the campaign maps and things. It was only for fantasy.
Which those are like the little mini hexes, right?
Yeah. The hexes, they snap together and you can make, Mini Wargaming did like a 2,000 piece map of the old world using them. It's so cool.
That's awesome.
And just the urge to do something like that is strong. But those guys came back out with the sci-fi version.
Ooh, okay.
So I've backed that. It was like $60 or something. I was like, and I had acquired a couple of the old Hexaton Hills, like the neutral things. Anytime I'd see them online on sale, I'd pick them up.
Yeah.
So I've got like all the hills and just the very like, you can use it for anything, and the deserts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like the fantasy cities, but things that I could use and mix in with the 40K or Apocalypse, whatever they're calling it, pieces.
Yeah.
So soon I think we may have to start a campaign around that because it just looks so cool.
Honestly, just having a map relating to a campaign of any sort is just cool. Just having ramifications for
everybody gets a color, and we just put like a pin or something in, and there's actually some of the map pieces have little holes, like 25 millimeter circles, that you can put things in or on, like a token, and we just move the tokens or print more tokens, and this is my territory and your territory and all that. So like it's really cool.
Yeah. See like where armies are or something.
Exactly. And cool. Bonuses for having this or that, or you have the airstrip. Cool. You get a free whatever. Like, I've been working on a lot of crazy campaign things.
That's cool.
And printing some terrain for the super duper extra secret project.
Yeah.
So
it looks
a couple
gorgeous.
of test pieces. Oh, I know.
Also
going to be like
black.
everything else, like my 2 Star Wars, 3 Star Wars boards I printed. I played 2 games,
But I'm going to have some cool terrain for that thing.
I am convicted that we shall not just play 2 or 3 games of it. So,
well, and that's the thing. Oh, I'm not even going to talk about it because I can't not talk about it. So we're going to move on. Not a lot of hobby progress here for us. Same with games played. We recorded 3 weeks ago.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it was right after Adepticon.
Yeah.
I haven't been able to play. It's April. There's soccer. There's gymnastics. It's birthday parties and all the things. Mm-hmm. We actually go to town next weekend for my wife's graduation.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to have to come to terms with missing Limp Bizkit in Nashville in the round with Metallica. And I am it hurts my soul that I'm going to miss that show. But now my parents are going out to see, stay.
Oh, wow.
And, her mom's throwing this huge party on Saturday. And I was like, I just want to go see Limp Bizkit so bad. But alas, adulting.
I've been told it's not always fun.
It's literally the worst. But as far as games played go, I played another game with Jordan.
Oh, how'd that go?
I beat her badly. Sorry, I was trying. I went blank. I was like, I need another word. I don't want to have to roll dice. I beat her pretty good. It was like 98-70.
Oh.
But it just last time she surprised me. New codex. Both of us were like, "What's this do? Let's see what happens." I knew to avoid the mass of scatter lasers. Her 3 units that each had 36 shots with sustained 1.
Yikes.
And her 1 AP or 1 command point for extra AP, which just negated everything I had.
So at that point, you're just.
I learned to hide. I stayed behind the buildings. I made her come to me. And actually, the topic we're going to talk about is going to come up because I'm going to use the quote that she said when we were talking about the terrain.
Oh,
but we played that game. I completely forgot about it. Didn't put it in the notes.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, it was fun. We had a good time. It was one of those like we're married and have kids, so we had to play it over the course of like 3 days because I can leave things out and just be like, all right, make a note. It was top of turn 2 or whatever, and just come back to it.
The benefits of playing in your own space and not having to clear out by 8.
Great. But my 2 tables are going to be in hopefully this weekend.
That'll be cool.
So I'm going to have those 2 4-foot by 4-foot tables with storage underneath for terrain.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
So excited, and maybe I can get rid of one of these big shelves and start clearing some room.
That will be very cool.
I'm so excited. And honestly, once those 2 come in, if I like them, if they're functional, like I hope they are, I'm probably going to order 2 more and get rid of this. But he put, I forgot what it's called. It's not a laminate, macro something, or it's some kind of top they put on tables.
Okay.
It's beautiful. It's like a map. It's almost like this, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's very heavy and very expensive. Like most of the cost of those tables was the top.
Really?
But it comes in like a 4-foot by 8-foot sheet. So he just bought one and cut it in half.
Yeah.
And
wow,
it works.
Just hope he cuts it straight, right?
He has a full blown wood shop. I'd like to think, and that's why I went with him. Cause,
professional.
Amateur professional, but he had the tools that I didn't, and it's like, you know what, we could probably do this better. So those are going to hopefully be here this weekend. Probably rearrange again.
That'll be cool. I'd be
Maybe
curious to
not
see
that.
this.
I dread that because it's just another day of hobby.
Does that can you butt them up against each other?
That's the plan. Is you can slam them together, and then you have a
4x8, pretty much.
Exactly. So if we want to play a huge game of heresy, or when the the other 2 tables eventually get there, we can make an L shape
or an 8x8. You just can't get to the center.
And like 3-4 foots, and then one on this, and then you've got like an actual. That's cool. I got so many big ideas.
That'd be cool.
But that's what I've got going on, man. So let's take a quick little break.
Yep.
And we'll come back and talk about our main topic, terrain.
Terrain. Sounds good. So for our topic today, I think this is one we've been sitting on for a little bit and have just been waiting for a chance.
Yes, this was one of the ones that we definitely had on the big topic list.
Yeah.
And even, in past lives, I wanted to do an episode about terrain.
Oh, okay.
But just never got to it. There was always something happening, or a tournament to prep to, or a 45-minute games played section. Here we are now. We're doing it. Episode 5, terrain.
Terrain.
We're here.
What do you think makes good terrain in a game? Like, do you have any?
Oh, yeah.
What makes it stand out?
I can go back to the very first time I saw this stupid little army game. It was. I say that in a very silly way because it's literally 95% of my free time.
It's probably fine.
My buddy Wesley had a store that was a computer store, and in to save on rent, he split the store with his buddy George. It was a half computer store, half Warhammer store, which back in the probably early 2000s was kind of how you had to do it because Warhammer just was not what it is today.
Yeah.
And inside of that store, they had probably 5 or 6 of the 1-inch pink polystyrene like insulation sheets.
Oh, yeah,
where they
yeah.
stacked them up and then they just melted it into what looked like a Realm of Battle board.
That's
and it
cool.
was just this crazy board, and it was like Skaven versus Empire or something.
Yeah.
And they had the trees and the ponds, and just it looked like one of those like old school GW boards you'd see in the pictures.
Where it like actually looks like a diorama almost,
Yes.
and they've got dudes on
and
it.
I sat there for like 6 hours just absolutely mesmerized.
That's
And it was like, wow, that's
wild.
That's cool. You know, so I think that's what gets people into it, because my 16-year-old brain saw that and was just like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And that's all I talked about for years, until like 4 years later when I can actually afford the game. Stuff like that, I think, is what draws you. Now, it might not be the best to play on necessarily.
So you want like set pieces, kind of like something that's
yeah.
epic, that like
Yes.
attention grabbing.
And not necessarily, and I'm sure we'll dive into it later, the L shapes of the world that seems to have taken over some particular war games here lately. What
Which
about
one
you?
could that be?
Is there anything specific that just like, man, I like to see this? Or
I don't think I've ever actually been somewhere in person that has a large, like, nice painted set of terrain. Like, there's been some terrain that's been painted.
Yeah.
But since I've been playing, it's mostly been, I mean, honestly, I think the fanciest board I've played on has probably been the Blackout we've done, as far as quality of terrain and stuff, because it's almost always like, dude, my first game of Warhammer 10th, which I played 9th before that, but my first game of 10th was just on like it wasn't even a proper neoprene. It was like a Magic the Gathering neoprene under there. So it's just a bunch of faces of like characters and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
It looked like you were gonna have a stroke trying to look at the
at the old house, our hobby / game room. I mean, it was our 2 fold out tables that are still over here. Don't know what to do with those now. But we were using like books and salt shakers and stuff like that as terrain, because that's all we had.
Yeah.
You know, and then Frontline Gaming came out with their MDF stuff, and we bought a set of that, but it was still the tournament stuff. But for us, it was like, oh my God, we actually have buildings and barricades and stuff, you know.
Looks cool.
And part of wanting to do these 2 tables and have the storage underneath them, I mean, that gives me 8 foot by 4 foot of like terrain storage underneath those tables. So I can actually put this bridge together and have somewhere for it to be, and actually glue it in place.
Yeah.
You know, and glue it on, or glue it in sections.
Yeah.
But right now, like I don't have the space to start gluing this massive, like 3.5 foot long bridge together. So that's been my holdup here. And I hope very soon we can kind of resolve that and just build an epic table. You know, I want to 3D print a Warhound Titan and just break it.
Yeah.
And turn it into this massive centerpiece.
That'd be cool.
You know,
Just like broken
its legs
down.
here, and it fell, and like we do the math, like if it's this tall and weighs this much, like how far would that arm go? and kind of do it to scale, and just have this cool table to play on.
Have it like collapse through like part of a building or something.
A broken bridge, perhaps.
Ooh.
Oh, I'm onto something.
That'd be cool.
And I always talked about wanting to do like a Tyranid planet, or a planet that's been taken over by the Nids, and like the buildings are Tyranidy, and there's stuff going on, the pools and the spawning, and like something like that would be awesome too.
Spires are starting to grow.
Yes, and I've got like 190 pieces of the free Japanese terrain somebody made.
Yeah.
And put on the internet. Okay.
Wow.
But they're huge. I mean, some of those pieces are like 3 feet long.
Oh, I can imagine. With like the Tyranid taking over planet stuff, some of those pieces seem like they'd be massive.
Really cool. And there's even walls and little fortifications and bridges.
Cool.
And one day.
So, I guess to answer your question, of what I've played, I have a different priority.
Okay.
But that kind of leans into, I guess, our next topic, which I guess we could just go ahead and get into, which is kind of like form versus function.
Yes.
The terrain I have enjoyed the most is the terrain that is, and I hate to say exclusively functional because that's not true, but the terrain that has a function, because I've played on some maps, and I've played some games straight up where it feels like you just want to avoid going near the terrain because it's like, this is obnoxious, and this like is just not fun to try and deal with the terrain rules. So it's just like we're gonna stay away from those. So it almost makes dead zones, and it's like not supposed to. So I don't like that. I think function's very important. Like spectacle, I agree. I really wish I had more experience with Spectacle. And I'm unfortunately a contributor here to the problem, but most of what I have played has been gray armies fighting on MDF unpainted.
A lot of that floating around here.
Yeah, unpainted buildings made out of the MDF wood. It's rough. There's not much spectacle to be had there. Honestly, actually, you know what? I lied. The best, I think, presentation actually is the Warcry, where I painted
really
the
like
entire
the terrain sets in Warcry. Those were cool.
because I have like all of the different sets for the first edition of that game, but I have one of them built and painted. And that's like the only thing where it's like the board matches and I like color matched the terrain and stuff. And it was like, it's all done. And that looks, I think, if I may pat myself on the back, I think it looks really, really good.
Good job, Mark.
Yay.
I appreciate it. I don't think we used it when we played it, but did we?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
It's been a long time since we played.
I've slept
It's been
since
like
then.
eight or 9
I have
months.
children. It's part of it. It's fine.
It's fun.
Yeah.
But what about you? Where are you at on the form versus function?
I'll tell another story.
Okay.
We, just to simplify things and keep it fair, Jordan and I've been teaching her using the WTC style terrain and the footprints.
Sure.
And if I never see another footprint, I'll be fine. And I think for her to be standing behind a wall, a footprint, if you will,
Yep.
and suddenly be invisible,
Yep.
and then to take, the equivalent of like a step and her model then be touching the wall, but still behind the wall, but still visible.
Yep.
She was just like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. I was like, I understand, but the way the rules are written, this is the situation. She's like, so I'm behind the thing and I'm not seen. I was like, but I step in and I'm behind the wall, but I'm seen. It's like, yes. And seeing somebody that hadn't really played 10th kind of just be like, what is this? This is so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Yeah, I got to up my terrain game.
Down
with the L shapes.
I guess maybe mini rant here. Honestly, I think it was my frustration with the terrain in 10th. Honestly, with 40K in general, because maybe 9th wasn't as bad, but it was the same. A lot of the same problems I have now I had then.
Yes.
It's worse.
In 9th, it was a lot of player plays. That was the hot thing.
We didn't do that at my store. Like we had one
That
game.
was a mini game in itself.
Yes, I had one game where we had player placed terrain because basically we were doing an escalation league and it was kind of, here's just, everyone's still learning. We're just going to have like tournament setups and that was fine. Or we just had like our most experienced players place it.
Sure.
I had one game where we placed our own terrain and that was probably the most fun I had that entire escalation league. It was, I forget the mission type, but basically I had to pick a unit and it had to survive. And my opponent had to come hunt it down.
Sure.
But it was kind of the closer I got it to the middle, the better it was, kind of. So I got points. We almost made just an alley of buildings.
It was interesting. If I don't know if you had even looked into like the frontline gaming rules for how that worked. But like the big pieces had to be 6 inches from the board edge or 6 inches from other big pieces and at least 4 inches from these medium pieces. And the medium pieces had to be 4 inches from this or 4 inches from that.
Yeah.
And so you had to leave the space, but it was a game of like, well, I want to block my home objective.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to see where you're going to block then I'm going to put something out. And you kind of tried to game it to where like, I can make this opening and my game plan is to go to this objective and have that thing. Or you could just be like, nope, and just put stuff in the craziest spots to like throw your opponent off.
Yes.
And the one middle piece could be up to 49% over the line, and then nothing else could be over the middle line.
Yeah.
And it was just...
So, yeah, that was... So we had a couple people come over when we were placing the terrain. They're like, what are you guys doing? And see, to me, it was, he has to come to me. So I'm going to give him as little usable cover as possible.
Yeah.
I'm putting everything in a straight line along the edges of the board.
When that was one of the things people did.
Yeah.
Back in 9th, you would place the buildings backwards.
So that doesn't give them as much. Yep.
They had to charge further. Or so I don't remember exactly. But yeah, it was its own little mini game.
We ended up doing that, and it made this long like kill box, and it was weird. Like I was one of the psychopaths that actually used reavers, but so there's like buildings all along the sides, and I'm able to just like fly my reavers around in that, and he's got like Sisters of Battle.
Oh, and so Space Marines.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I was like, when'd you start playing Drakari?
No. Space Marine Reavers, the Scully boys. But yeah, so it ended up just being a bloodbath, but it was one of the most fun because it's pretty much if you want to target my character, you have to be in the open. So it's like no cover, you get nothing. And my guys are more durable than his, so it was kind of just trying to bait him out into the open.
And thinking about you, I don't know why that reminded, but it was to prevent. You could deep strike in, but you couldn't shoot my home objective. Is why you would flip that. I think was the. I don't know
that sounds familiar. Player place terrain still, though. I think automatically anything that
for like fun narrative games, I think it'd be fine. It's not like that tournament, like and yeah, like make it cool. You know?
Well, even still, though, it there's a level of kind of it gives you choice, right?
Yes.
I'm a big fan of mind games in these kind of games and fun mind games. Like,
say it explains so much, Mark.
Oh, well, yeah. So just doing that. So I guess what made me think of this topic in general is just my total dissatisfaction with how 10th handles terrain. Like I hesitate to say it's the worst terrain system I've ever played in a game, but it's the worst terrain system I've ever played in a game.
Unrelated. And I may cut this, but I was listening to a podcast. I think it was The Long War, and they basically just went on a tirade about how the secondaries were so bad, and they don't like the way the game played, and all. Yep. And I feel like everybody's starting to talk about it now. Yeah. But they were like, "Can we just go back to like the mission packs that Frontline Gaming put out before GW came back?" Mm-hmm. And it was just like kill one, kill more, hold one, hold more, and something else. And like that was just you played your game and you tried to do that too. Like it just I don't know.
And that's kind of almost talking about the objectives. I don't know what I think about the have some random dude sitting in the corner and that wins you the game. Kind of like I get the objective.
My points. 10 guys are just going to stand here and look pretty. Hey guys, you know.
Well, it's like you have to bring scouts as a Space Marine player because you need to just drop dudes on the back. They're not going to do anything. They're immediately going to die. But you have to just drop them in the back corner so they can like sit behind a building for half a turn and then get shot. Like that flavor
doesn't seem right.
Well,
you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, granted, they're like, I'm going to sit here and do my job, and that they're probably super into it. But from a like game perspective, like, no, I want, or even like rushing out with your transports and then bringing them back to hold your objectives or block deep strikes. Like, no, like they shoot things and do things and raid, and
it's a tank. Mm-hmm. But I mean,
do tank stuff.
When Tyranids, before they got like turbo nerfed their objective game, like Tyranids had some of the best secondary play in 10th. And I played Tyranids during that time. And it's just like, I can just win because I'm shooting a mine that just like, it doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. I'm just shooting it to the corner.
Now suddenly you can't
screen it because it's like a 25 millimeter base. I'm shooting to the corner of the, it's like, that is so lame.
Getting my...
That's so lame.
I can't even think of the engage on all fronts.
Oh, yeah. Form versus function. So it's kind of, would you rather have terrain though that's like unplayable? Like it's so...
After going through the magic box phase of 40K, no. Like it's just a box that you can go into and then pop out the other side. Yeah. But you can't be seen. You can't, for all intents and purposes, you're not on the table when you're inside of that. That I never liked that.
See, I feel like it's so sterile in 40K because obviously the exact opposite of that is what you said, like brought you in, right? Like the big, the big foam stuff, like the realms of battle and stuff. But I know there's the common complaint of like, well, my models don't sit on it. Like there are some limitations as far as like this won't actually... how much of this terrain is actually usable because our guys are going to fall off a cliff here. Right. So it's kind of...
Yeah, and then we had the wobbly model syndrome, and it was just like...
So obviously there has to be compromises on both sides kind of made.
I get it, yeah.
So I guess which way do you lean though? Like, do you lean more generic and sterile, or do you lean like more?
I want the cool stuff.
Yeah,
but even the bridge I printed.
Yeah,
I measured it. I measured land. I measured all of the 40K vehicles that I had.
Yeah,
and made sure everything could go across it.
Yep. Because
I didn't want it to be like, well, the Land Raider is just going to have to turn on its side, to get through. I wanted to make sure it could actually drive across it and it look cool and be cool.
Yeah. So practical then.
Still
has a level of function.
Sure. Yeah.
So I guess how much of an impact do you like terrain to have? Because I know some games you obviously have like the extremes of like old fantasy.
Sure.
Where
mysterious terrain and roll a d6 if you're within XYZ of it, and you might heal things, or you might just kill things, or you could have an extra ward save. Like I always thought that was cool because you didn't know what was going to happen.
Yes.
Even crossing the river or going into the jungle,
you don't know.
You had to roll and see like, oh, this piece of jungle is cursed.
That's
nobody else goes near it.
That's
or,
cool.
You move faster through it, or it's half your movement speed or something like that. That was always really neat.
Yeah.
because you might get a buff, you might lose 2 dudes, or you might just like teleport to the side of the table. You don't know.
Just a level of unknown, which honestly I feel like anything that leans into the chaos of the game, which is already chaotic because dice and rules and stuff, I like flavorful chaos. I don't know if you remember from your like demo of Shatterpoint, but that game is like half that game's in the air.
Yes, and I wasn't a big fan of like Anakin just jump or random stormtroopers like, we're just gonna go up. What is it, like 25 feet?
So I don't know if you remember, there's no fall damage in that game.
Yeah.
So you could get force pushed off. I know why they did it, and I don't think I necessarily disagree. They did it basically since so much of the game is in the air, and so much of the game is about repositioning your opponent's pieces. They didn't want it to be like, well, no one's going to go up here because you're going to push them off and they're instantly dead.
So it's not Necromunda where for every 3 inches you take a harder hit.
Right.
That's too bad.
So like everyone's just
amazing,
falling.
by the way. Yeah, you fall and like, oh, I hope I don't like
die.
I got shot near the edge. I have to roll to see if I fall.
That's a cool roll.
Man, more games need that. That would be incredible.
Warcry has it too. It hardly comes up, but I mean, like there's multi-layer. But so there's high impact and there's low impact, right? Like,
yes.
I think what's the rule called? Plunging fire. Do you know in 40K? Do you know what plunging fire is?
4 inches, you get an extra AP if you're above them, right?
Okay.
I've never seen it used.
I was gonna say, like, I've never
maybe one time.
Yeah.
It's come up as like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah.
It's like, hold on, let me look it up just to check and make sure.
Make sure it's actually a rule.
It's like, is it 4 inches or 6 inches?
I think it's 6.
3 inches? Yeah, I think the 6 sounds right. And so few terrain pieces are that
6.
tall.
Yeah. Which the only reason I know that is I was trying to find a reason to justify the Reaver's existence, because it's like they can fly. They have like better flying. So it's like I can put them up here, and now suddenly they have precision AP shots, and they're not like awful. Maybe
Nobody tell my wife her jet bikes can go above 6 inches and get an extra AP, because I do not need 2 AP scatter lasers. That would be the end of me playing against her.
But then, yeah, you have stuff like, trying to think. Well, I mean, Blackout. Obviously, there's a lot of,
and I like that too. It's even a piece of like rubble. You can lean out and do things. So like every little piece of scatter is important.
matters. Like every little box,
Or adding that little like jut out from the building, even if it's a ½ inch, like that makes such a huge difference in the firing lines and things.
Yeah, because your dude's just slammed up against the buildings and stuff. Like it makes the terrain feel so much more alive, I guess, when you interact with all of it. Because honestly, I know why they did it, because it can get tedious if the line of sight and all that's hard. But a lot of games do kind of simplify kind of what the terrain is a lot. Like true line of sights, like footprints make it dangerous, I feel like. There are plenty of games that have footprints, to be fair. It's not like just a 40K thing.
Sure.
Because there's like area terrain and stuff.
Yeah, and that's fine. If it's something that isn't like, a washcloth on the table.
Sure.
That's a swamp. Is it?
On that subject, 2D versus 3D.
3D or bust.
3D or bust.
I played Blackstone Fortress, and to pretend that I couldn't see things because there was like a hexagon in front of it, no.
So this is going to be I've been looking forward to this conversation because it's going to be interesting, because I play a lot of classic BattleTech specifically on the hex maps.
And I want to love that game, but it's so hard just to be like, oh, I guess I'm 50 feet above you. I'm not. I'm literally standing next to you.
To be fair, you can still put 3D terrain on the hexes. Like they make, so it looks how it's supposed to be.
When me and Shane demoed it, I printed so much terrain to try that game.
Yeah.
And we're like, this is kind of dumb. And I couldn't get into it. Like I want to play the version of it that's Alpha Strike, I guess, where it's just like,
Alpha Strike.
I know, but I don't know. I feel restricted by the hexes.
That's fair. And that was actually something I wanted to talk about too, is kind of what's your opinion on, because I know I like both because I've played enough games that are both, but I know some people that are in the camp of measurements or bust, and I know some people that are in the camp of grids or bust.
I mean, with grids, you don't have the like, oh, is he bumping his models a ½ inch or whatever? Like I see the appeal.
It has a level of, it removes all ambiguity as far as like line of sight is the way it is, movement is the way it is, range is the way it is,
facings and all that stuff. Like I see the appeal. Yes. I don't know. I couldn't get past the like 2D board where it's like, well, that's an ocean and this is it's like, no, man, make it do a cool river thing and like do scenic stuff. And
It's pretty much you're losing visual immersion for the sake of rules, which is an interesting compromise to make. And I think I appreciate both sides of it. I mean, clearly, like, I picked Marines because they look cool, among other things. But
Marines are very cool.
Yeah,
it's hard to,
A lot of GW's appeal is, the models look awesome. Like, no one can deny.
There's a reason they're number one.
Yeah.
I can't sit here and argue that fact,
Yeah. Obviously the appeal, and then, the big spectacle of having all the 3D stuff. But I don't know, I do like kind of having known quantities of just like, it does let you, for better or worse, pre-plan, which, analysis paralysis, I suppose. But I'm thinking, I haven't played it, but I think War Machine also uses like 2D terrain.
They just changed everything. I don't know.
I think
honestly.
It's still like kind of you set it out and stuff.
I remember it being really corny with like, I just put this little cardboard marker out.
So the comment I've been wanting to make is they should just do that with 10th Warhammer, because that's what it is.
Basically.
Yeah. It's like,
you could literally play on a whiteboard and just draw your L's.
Yeah.
And
yeah, because everything moves through it. Like if you move through the solid terrain, there's no reason for the terrain to be solid. Line of sight is blocked regardless of whether the line of sight's actually blocked, right? So just just make it rectangles on the table, like,
because they have so much money just going to Office Max and buying a 4 foot by 6 foot whiteboard.
Like I was thinking, I was driving, I don't remember somewhere, and I thought that, and I was like, wow, and that would be more functional too, because then you don't have to like worry about just seeing models or forgetting models. It's just like boom, just do it.
Yeah, and so many times I've played, it's like, hey, I'm going to put this at the very top, so I remember this unit is underneath.
Yeah.
And I still half the time forget about it.
Yeah. That's my one of many, I'm sure, but my hottest take for today is 40K should just we should just play on like grid paper, because that's pretty much what we're doing. Just lay out little rectangles, get some foam board. You're not playing with real terrain.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. I like it. Have you seen the guys at Adepticon that play Kill Team using the Joy Toy figures?
Yes, I think I've seen where it's like massive.
Not insane.
That
it's
is
like 10-foot boards,
wild.
and it's like 6-inch dudes, and like it's so cool.
It's wild. It would be like
y'all thought Warhammer was costly. Kill Team cost $900 or whatever.
And you need like 20 by 20 feet of space to be able to get a board in. It's novel for sure.
I'll sit there and watch it for a minute and take a picture, but
Yeah, so I feel like 3D terrain needs to be integrated really well with the system. It's kind of either keep it minimal, where it's just like here is a footprint. Obviously have like the buildings
look at the Star
you have printed
Wars
here.
Legion boards.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so cool and thematic, and a lot of it you can't move through or whatever.
But it's still visually
cool.
Yes,
it feel like you're playing on Pick a Planet.
It's just, here is a tree shaped footprint, because it's a tree that you can't stand on. You can't really interact with it.
Can't go through it.
But it's line of sight blocking, and it's like you say, movement. So you get the board is not just fully open. There's still cover, but you're not sacrificing aesthetic, and you're also not adding a bunch of clunk, because the rules are funky. And there are rules for terrain in Legion. But so very rarely have I ever felt the need to get up on a building unless you have a sniper rifle. It really doesn't matter. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I think stuff like that's okay.
Yeah.
So how would you fix terrain or make it better from a 3D perspective, I guess? 2D, I don't think there's a lot you can really do just because it's 2D.
Well, with a lot of 2D, it's kind of, this is the way it is. Like, I'm torn, because actually on the subject, I guess you should mention one other thing if we're going to like, before we totally change. But one thing for Legion too is there's area terrain in Legion, which is kind of just, if you're stepping on it, like, it
toe in.
Yeah. But it doesn't break line of sight. Area terrain does not break line of sight. You just get cover from it.
Right. Yes.
Which makes sense, because normally it's like trees and all that stuff. I had 3D printed craters that I got for area terrain for like light cover for Legion. And they ended up being the most obnoxious thing to play with, because no one would stay like where you set them.
Oh yeah,
it was miserable.
Back to the realm of battle, man. They do not stay on the hills, and it's like, this is great, but like.
So what I ended up doing, and actually a couple people I played with suggested, was I just got neoprene craters.
Circles.
Yeah, well, it's like they had it printed on there. They look really good, but it does not affect the gameplay at all. So
no free movement.
Nope. Slide. Yep. So And that like instantly cleared up. So I think there is something to be said for a mix. I do like a mix. When you have something where it's kind of your models need to be able to walk through it. Sure. It's cool if they can walk through it. Like
even like a forest or trees for like 40K. I mean, it's usually like 3 trees kind of in a circle and you just kind of wing it. It's like, it's so hard to move around things like that.
Yeah. Which I've seen some stuff like that. And actually I bought some like MDF printed kind of area terrain and it had circles in it and it was like raised, but it had circles where you could put shrubbery or bushes or whatever. And it's kind of, if a tank is driving over this, I am going to lift the little bush pieces out.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's, you still have, and cover it in flock and like little stuff and, you know.
I like it.
So, but kind of trying to split the difference, I think is neat. Yeah. So as far as fixing terrain, that one's difficult. I'm not a big fan of paintball arenas.
Right, as discussed.
Which is just the terrain being symmetrical. So I think player placed or just asymmetrical terrain, period. Like even if you have, I think Warcry did it phenomenally, where you've got preset terrain
layouts.
but it's asymmetrical.
Sure.
Because you're not going to have perfect control.
Exactly.
But
maybe smooth the deployment around a little bit, depending on like, you get this extra piece, but you can only deploy in this corner or something. Like,
it's but fixing it, I'm not sure.
That's a tough one. Maybe we need to go to game design school and work on that. You know, that's something to think about.
Yeah,
circle back to this one day. Terrain part 2.
I mean, if I was to make something, I think it would just be hexes, but.
No, I'd throw something if I had something that wasn't breakable.
A water bottle. I would be very careful with line of sight, because I feel like that's probably the biggest thing that breaks my immersion when you're playing those games is I can see the dude.
Sure.
I can't shoot him, or I can't see the dude, but I can shoot him. Those are two that cause a lot of rules.
Oh, yeah.
Angst and frustration in general with the game. And that's in every game I've played is kind of those two things. If it's not how it should be, and you're going to have to take some liberties anyways with...
Of course, yeah, we're playing plastic dollies at the end of the day.
Yes.
Like,
regardless of the system, there's a compromise somewhere, but that one in particular, it kind of just be wary of it. But what about you?
Oh, I don't know, honestly. There's things I like and don't like about everything.
Yeah.
I mean, back to the Warhammer Fantasy days, I mean, you'd have 2 or 3 pieces on the table and that was it.
Yeah.
Or you'd, make a river out of painter's tape. Or like I said, a folded washcloth that's green for your forest. Sure. And that's just how it was. But like, I would love to go back to those days.
I was going to say, did you ever, like, that never ruined the experience or made it worse for you, did it?
Being kind of busted ass was part of the fun.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have to. People weren't making terrain. We didn't have 3D printers.
Yeah.
You could buy the GW Wizard Tower.
Yeah.
Or the Graveyard. And that was it.
Speaking of the graveyard, I have the Warcry graveyard.
Which is the old fantasy graveyard.
Yeah, that's wild. Which I guess, too, part of that's due to fantasy being rank and flank, though, right? Like on the big movement trays, you really can't have a lot of terrain that your guys are going to be
exactly. Or
smashing through.
If you didn't have a musician, it cost you movement to wheel. You had to pay for the musician and the standard bearer and the champion.
Yeah. I mean, like L-shaped ruins wouldn't work with that. Or
maybe now with the way game design has kind of progressed.
Maybe.
But I have intentionally not looked at anything Warhammer Old World.
Probably wise for both our sakes.
I bought into it, then I sold the high elves, and the books. I was like, I can't do this.
Can't do it again.
Can't
go back. Don't go back to your ex. It's fine.
We have to go back to the island.
Ultimately, I think just that terrain should not be... It shouldn't take away anything from the experience of playing, right? It's kind of like, it should be there. It should be fun. It shouldn't be something you completely avoid just for the sake of, simplicity. I don't think.
Bowling ball.
Yeah. Yeah. If it's just like totally open or something, it should be a positive thing. I know there's a lot of, which honestly doesn't tend to have a lot of different terrain rules that we don't use.
Nobody uses. Everything is a ruin.
That's so sad.
Everything is a ruin. Yeah. Well, because everything has to be fair, and God forbid somebody have I don't even know what the other terrain pieces are. I just went completely blank.
A tree, a forest.
There's other stuff.
Hill.
I think there's hills, but like I couldn't tell you what they do.
What's a hill?
Yeah, nobody makes those. How do you 3D print a hill? I can do walls, good sir. Well, I see a line in here that says hex terrain side tangent. Have we touched on that yet?
A little bit.
Okay.
It's
Is there more of the rant you would like to?
so D&D works off a grid, right? When you actually use or is it kind of
Sometimes.
like mostly just kind of
Yeah, I mean, anytime.
anytime there's physical representation, I've only
Yes,
ever seen
we
like
generally do the
square.
1 inch by 1 inch grid, and people
Yeah.
want to go like catty corners. Like that's not how this works. You go up and left, or
Yeah.
left and right. You can't just like cut across.
I've played several different, like I played the old Star Wars pre-painted miniature line that had square grid on that one too.
Oh yeah,
I've played a decent amount of games that have a square grid, and I do have to say I think hexes are superior as far as
100%.
the grid. It does make it a little wonky. I've played some like ancient battles, like Greeks and Romans and stuff like that, where you have large formations of guys, and it does make it a little wonky because you're like your lines crooked.
It's hard to go straight.
Right. This kind of ties into our skirmish game versus war game kind of thing. Like ultimately, we're here to kind of have fun with the
Play with our plastic dollies.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think hexes are a little bit underutilized as far as they are a tool that makes the game easier, I suppose.
I haven't played a lot of games with hexes though. I might
a
need
lot.
to investigate this.
It's interesting because it starts to bridge into like being a board game.
Sure.
In a lot of ways.
I guess I've played board games with hexes.
And it's like there are board games with hexes, but it kind of a lot of the games I've seen that kind of halfway straddle the board game war game is a very interesting like little niche, one of those.
I avoid that word for that reason.
I've heard both so many times.
Yep. And we're in the South. Like we don't say anything
Oh,
right
yeah.
here. So I don't say big words.
put
I
that
went to
drawl
Franklin
on
County. I don't does it right. Okay.
I do kind of like that space. Like there's a game I was thinking of and it just left my mind. Oh, Giant Killer Robots, Heavy Hitters. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
I've heard the name. I've never investigated it.
It was made by Weta Workshop, like an original IP they did. I bought it. It's really cool. It has a lot of, I don't want to say Warhammer rules, but the engine in some ways is similar, just with the saves and like all that stuff. But it's on hexes. You've got big mechs running around, and there's like little ones that you can like spawn in and stuff. But it's like 2 to 4 players.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And honestly, for a gateway game to get like board gamers into miniature stuff, I think it's phenomenal.
Wasn't Underworlds on hexes?
Yes.
Never played it. Had the box. Never played it.
Underworlds is on hexes. They're still making stuff for Underworlds, believe it or not. I've heard.
I would have bet retired, but
Well, yeah, no, I would have too. But for some reason, I mean, the models are awesome. They're gorgeous. So
Dungeon Bowl. That's another one I always wanted to try, but it was like I'm not buying into this.
there's the other grid one, Blood Bowl. I do actually like Blood Bowl's grid. I've only played.
I have Blitz Bowl.
I've only played the computer game version of it, but as far as I'm aware, it's exactly the same.
Yes.
It's
If you're playing like not crazy rules, yes.
Yes. But I like it a lot in that particular game. And that's, because like football and everything's square, like you kind of need squares for like the line of scrimmage and kind of all the different yard lines and all that stuff. Yeah. I don't know. Having a grid, because honestly, there's a little bit more mind gaminess.
Well, you can plan it better too, I guess. You don't have to be like, what's his threat range and all that. You just like,
Yes.
oh yeah, he can go that far.
You know exactly.
Pops. Yeah.
Which I think both of us are really good about it, but kind of just like if your shot's like half a centimeter off, just move your guy.
Yeah. And we just nudge. Like,
Yeah.
take it. I'm not
yeah.
winning anything by losing or winning this game. It's fine.
It's kinda-
let's do the fun thematic thing here.
If half a centimeter loses me the game, I deserved to lose.
I'm playing the wrong
anyways.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and hexes do take out some of that, but yeah, it's interesting. I've heard, like I said, mixed things. I know some people that hate measurements. I know some people that hate hexes. I think they're both good. I think it's very situationally dependent. But
I think I hate hexes because I haven't used a lot of hexes.
we got to get you using more hexes.
I know. Now I want to play Blood Bowl, man. Killing me. Anyways, no Kurt. Not another game.
bad.
Favorite terrain system.
That one's tough. In recent memory, honestly, I really do like Blackout. Like I know we mentioned it, but it's
I gotta
so
say,
smooth.
Yeah, it just kind of works. There's not a lot of extra terrain rules.
No.
It's just you can see me or you can't.
The fact that it's you can see me or you can't, and it just encourages. And I kind of talked to some people on the server, and for a while there, they always just said more scatter, and like it actually does make a difference more scatter. But
Does.
honestly, it's so in an unintrusive. it basically just lets you do what you want with it. It's the only cover rule is basically, can you see me or can you not see me? Like that is so freeing for how you build
so
the table.
simple and yet
it's so effective.
Yeah, effective. That's the word.
It does so much with so little, which, I mean, less is more in that way.
Even with the giant dusters.
Yeah.
It became a like, oh God, I have to hide from this kind of situation.
Yeah.
Or do I have cover if that thing like runs towards me and like.
But you can hide. Like the terrain section of Blackout is probably half a page. And these pages are like
4x8.
Yeah, it's like a
4x6 note card.
4x6 note card. So it's like a 2x6 paragraph that is, here's how terrain works.
Get behind it.
It does so well because it's how it works how you think it would, which is, can you see the dude or not? And that is so elegant.
I have to say, I do. Of what we've played recently, Blackout probably takes the cake. And second would be the old Warhammer Fantasy Mysterious Terrain rules. Like that was just so fun.
Yeah.
And see, my first thought as soon as we need to let you try that. I was like, no, Kurt, no, we do not need to do that.
You got rid of high elves anyways. There's nothing to try.
I'll make it work. We've proxied enough.
Paper squares.
My first game of Warhammer was with change.
Poor hammer.
Quarters and nickels were bases, you know.
I gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah. Sticky notes to signify what unit was what. And yeah.
I've definitely cut out grid paper squares for different games before to proxy units. Just when you're like trying to figure out, is this game worth my time?
Saying, you know, we don't even need models. We just need the bases, the movement trays. Really all you, and a die that signifies how many models are in that movement tray.
just little bricks. Yeah. I think honestly, if I was to fix terrain now thinking about it, just less is more. Just make it what it is. The terrain, you can't walk through it. Your infantry cannot walk through the solid metal wall, which honestly,
You're onto something.
Just do what Warcry did. Like if there's a door, you can walk through the door.
Yeah.
But like if there's not a door, you can't walk through where there's not a door. Yeah. And just have true line of sight. And
maybe we should make our own game with blackjack and hookers and really good terrain.
Which is just like half a sentence of it do what it do. That's our terrain rule.
We're onto something.
It do what it do.
I wonder, and again, playing every game under the sun.
Sure.
How does one-page rules handle terrain?
I don't know. I've seen some.
I've got the rules. I've just never opened them. Like I flipped through, like, what is this Drukari? Like, and looked at it. I was like, that's neat.
See how it works.
Very basic.
See what
but it's neat.
Yeah.
And I think I'd have to see it all together.
I've seen some, I think, battle reports on it. It doesn't look as, and they were cinematic battle.
And that was their
reports.
whole thing, was like not complicated.
Yeah.
Fun, but not complicated.
It seemed didn't seem to intrude on the actual gameplay that much. It was just kind of there, and there wasn't as much terrain there. And like I said, it was kind of a cinematic thing. So I wonder how much of that was just because it was being cinematic and how much, because, you know, like mini wargaming, their giant tables don't have the same terrain density as some other things.
But see, that's the kind of tables I'd love to play.
I know.
I'd love to be able to A, store that terrain, and B, have you seen the behind the scenes stuff where it's like, here's the 3 rooms where we store all of our terrain?
I have not, but I can imagine based on all the different terrain I've seen them use.
Every now and then they'll do a behind the scenes video where like he walks around. I was like, all right, we're gonna go through the terrain room, and it's these shelves with like triple the amount of things on it, and it's like, this is our whatever train, and this is our Warhammer Fantasy train, this is our whatever board, this is our, and it's just like a room of those shelves.
Yeah,
like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. And I'm talking about like the big black metal shelves that are 6 feet tall.
I would so love to play on a board that is like genuinely like really awesome, like cinematic, and just
We've talked about making a big heresy board. Maybe we just need to pick a day, one weekend, and go to Lowe's and buy our 6 sheets of polystyrene and come out here with a hot foam cutter and the windows open because I don't want to die. And just make something cool. And if it sucks, we're out like $60. You know, like, I got a heat gun. Like, we're gonna make some cool stuff.
It would be neat to do something. I mean, you have that Realms of Battle thing too, right? But
I mean, it's neat, but I think for anything 40K futuristic, it's so hard to put stuff on it
because it's so. I'd have to see how bad it is to understand.
My dude, I will set it up in the living room before you leave. Don't even tease me. Or even in the floor. Like it's fine. All right, we're doing it.
Just watch the Wraith Knight fall on his face.
I mean, those are so big, he literally can like touch both, and it's fine.
Sure.
But it's like the little space marine on the hill. He just kind of You bump the table and it just whoosh down. Or the rhino that's halfway up, it just kind of like
Bonk.
slides down. It's like, oh man.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe because it's got more friction, but I was going to say, how would the pink foam, would that be better?
You can kind of score it a little bit.
And I guess make the hills
We
less
can make the hill,
extreme.
I mean, it was like a 3-inch drop over like 2 inches. So it was a very steep hill.
Right.
And you could kind of,
make
easily
more gently.
I'm making the
sloping
hand
hills.
motions. I realize now listeners can't see that.
It's fine.
Yet. But yeah, I was doing like a smooth, like upward motion with my hand because you can really just kind of take that hot foam cutter and just gently, or the burner or whatever. And with the Necromunda tiles I was making, I was going to do a bunch of 1x1 tiles and make a 4x4 table. And it was going to be like 16 tiles. Maybe we should look at something like that for 40K or anything really. I mean,
Yeah.
And maybe 2x2 is like a Warhammer Battle style. Now that I'm about to have a place to put stuff,
Swappable tiles at that point.
and that was the idea with Necromunda is I could turn them. They were universal. You could turn them however you want.
Yeah.
And you could move them around, and like this might be the corner of a spire, and maybe it connects to another one, or maybe it's just like the edge of the table.
Yeah.
But like you could put the underground cesspool in the middle or on the side or the corner, and there's doors on each side if you wanted to do that, or it's open on this side, and just to have that incredible modularity.
Modularity?
Yes.
That one?
Again, Franklin County does it right. I did not do well in English. She gave me a passing grade because she felt bad for me. It's fine. It's fine.
It's all good.
I don't do big words.
Yeah, just something that kind of subtly tells a story, I think is cool. Just like there is a reason why this is set up the way it is, and
it's got to be interesting enough to want to play on it again, and not just like, yeah, that was neat, but like, I just spent $200 in 3 weeks building and painting this table, and it
that we're
kind of
going to use once and then
to the dumpster.
That's my worry with cinematic terrain. Some of it's like, that is really cool, and that is, you'll play on it once and never touch it again.
I've seen people that have made the 2x2 tiles, and this is just me workshopping in front of other people. Yeah, that's what we do here. But if we were to do the 2x2 tiles, we could almost put little things to hold them under the table. Like slots to slide them in.
Yeah,
and store them under that table.
Yeah, no, I mean, stuff that's honestly anything that has as much utility as possible is cool.
No, here I am, like already. I'm sketching out a design for a revised table bottom thing here.
Honestly, just because for Heresy, I know you and I have gone back and forth on like maps a little bit, like city or something. Just like concrete with roads, and you can just put buildings on the, like, if the corners where the concrete, where the road is not.
And I've got 6-inch printable tiles for like cityscapes.
Yeah,
I started. They're in a box over there somewhere that I printed like 4 or 5. I'm like, what does this look like?
Yeah,
it's really cool.
Well, just like if the road was inset, and then there's like the concrete on the side, and then you could place buildings on top of like where all the corners met or something,
or the ruins, or
the city have the building.
And see, I would be against like getting a bag of concrete and just doing little chunks and then breaking it up and gluing that down onto tiles like that. That's.
But then at that point, you have like some really cool like little. Have you ever played on a board where they just like dump like, little rocks and stuff?
I've thought about it, but my first thought was like, how do I clean the mat from the dust?
Yeah, and how like just the amount of pebbles to clean that.
Which is, I mean, we can go to any random. Fish tank supply place and get like little rocks that would be passable.
Yeah, I guess that would tear up the neoprene though. It'd be just like dirty. Fish just
small price to pay.
But then your models would get dirty too though. That would be
sealed if they're fully painted. It's fine. All right. So any other thoughts on terrain? I added a line about different types of terrain: cardboard, MDF, 3D printed, home sculpted.
Oh yeah.
But I guess it doesn't really matter at the end of the day what kind of terrain it is, so long as it's working in your environment.
Cool. Yeah. Have you ever actually made like foam core, like poster board?
Tried.
Terrain? I did.
Tried.
There's a store, the store Game Night in Columbia. I gave them my ruins. Like, I think they primed them and stuff, but
I tried to make ruins like that for a local store, and they were rejected.
Oh,
to try to save money.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
That's sad. No, they just took them like.
I was like, we could build a table for $8, little hot glue and a couple of toothpicks, and it would pass.
Well, my foam core terrain never got finished, but I will say it was pretty decent. It was like a a 2-story ruin that had like 2 front sections, and then it was like inset, but you could remove the floor.
I've got the hot foam cutter, man.
Well, the thing is now it's like the time, because back then it was like I was in college. I didn't have the money for terrain, but I had the time for terrain. Now I have the money and don't have the time.
What sports do your kids play again? How many nights a week are you dealing with that?
And somehow I still don't have the time.
Man, it doesn't get any better. Let me just say. All right. I think as far as like talking about terrain, I think we covered a lot.
Yeah. Aired some grievances, talked about some cool stuff.
Yeah. And if anybody has thoughts, like by all means, leave us a comment.
Absolutely.
And I guess I'm going to do the shilling thing here, the self-promotion thing that I hate doing.
Sure.
I would literally cut somebody in front of their own mama, get a review somewhere, 5 stars, 2 stars. I don't give me something, some kind of review. Leave
And
a
they're
comment
all
on YouTube.
1 stars.
Give me a like, please subscribe.
Yes.
Anything, literally, like help get the word out there for this podcast.
The pleasantries
I
do
can only
help.
throw so much money at Facebook and YouTube to promote us. Although we did pick up like 40 subscribers for the Adepticon episode.
Wow. Vaguely relevant.
Emergency recording and skipping an episode and redoing it and having the wrong numbers on the episodes occasionally comes in handy.
It made some of our hobby conversations sound a little schizophrenic, but it's
And news came out really bad last episode because it was a month old at that point. But it's fine. But we did want to get out some like recent content. We were so excited to talk about the news, so
it's
we
kind of
we did skip.
It was do that or like be 3 weeks.
Yeah, I don't want to get a
irrelevant
month
to
behind.
Yeah.
this still won't come out until next Thursday.
Yeah.
And while we're talking about podcast related things, we have also set up a Discord.
Yes.
It's technically not open to everyone yet. I haven't sent out public links, but if it's something you would be interested in, shoot me a message on Facebook, comment in the YouTube comments, webwayradio@gmail.com will also get to us. Let me know you want to join. Let me know you listen. I'll send you an invite. Hang out with me and Mark and some of our local guys. I'm still working on setting it up. I started like a month and a half ago before Disney World, and I feel like it has just been a whirlwind ever since. So I still haven't got permissions fully set up, but
Oh, good. I can
1 or
help
2
with that if
people.
needed.
Yeah, please just take it. You're an admin. Do what you have to do. But yeah, if you want to chat with us or give input or, whatever, get in on our minor conversations about random things. The guys are really excited about World Eaters right now.
Yeah, I've seen quite a bit of
hobby progress. I love my G-Stealer cult.
Yes.
And I said this today in the Discord, but with what they're doing with World Eaters, it's now the army I wanted it to be when I
got rid of
bought
it.
World Eaters.
Oh,
It's like, man, I buy them again.
don't do it.
I
Don't
could sell
do
the
it.
Tyranids and get World Eaters for like the 3rd time.
And then as soon as you do that, though,
I know.
they're
I'd
gonna
be
like
furious.
delete it. That World Eaters won't exist when you do that again.
Stop.
They'll be removed.
Well, I had considered selling Drakari. Like I was in talks with somebody to sell my Drakari, and that character frame leaked.
Oh,
The leaked character that's the girl from the Cabal of the Poison Tongue. That's who I painted mine after.
oh,
Like, are you telling me the Cabal of the Poison Tongue might get a named character that's going to do some ridiculous stuff?
that's
Immediately into those negotiations. It's like, sorry, buddy, I'm out.
they mentioned that my faction
that
exists still.
Had that dropped, yeah, and that's like maybe they're not going to squat us and roll us into the next Eldar book.
Whoa.
But if that news hadn't come out when it did and was like the next day, I probably would have sold all my Drakari that night.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. Close.
all my Drakari.
You hear that, Games Workshop? You're cutting it close. You're on thin ice.
I don't think my one purchase is going to affect their bottom line at all.
It definitely makes a difference for sure. For sure.
So this has been episode 5 of Webway Radio. I'm Kurt,
I'm Mark.
and talk to you next time.
See ya.